How much protein should you be consuming? This is a question I get asked a lot, and we're first going to start by looking at what protein actually is, because I think this is an important distinction to make for all of you who are watching. So protein is essentially a macronutrient that we need every single day. It's actually comprised of amino acids, which are essentially the building block for literally everything in our body. These amino acids are then, that's kind of like the minimal structure. They can then be built into peptides, which can then be built into polypeptides, which then can be made into what we know as protein. And protein in itself can be used for a lot of different structures in our body, such as muscle. A lot of people know that muscle is built with protein. Well, protein literally is muscle, and muscle is literally protein. In addition to that, it also helps with lots of different cell structures in our body as well, keeping them regulated, keeping them repaired. And then if we think about metabolism itself, all the different things that we do with metabolism, there's so much breakdown going on. There's so many things happening, and protein helps to repair ourselves specifically in case stuff happens, and stuff happens all the time. Anytime your day-to-day activities happen, anytime you are expending energy, there's numerous different things where your body needs to be repaired, and protein helps do that. So it's really, really great to have, and unfortunately a lot of people are lacking on protein, which is why they might not be feeling as good, because guess what? Your body's not going to be able to repair as well if you're not getting that good protein content. So let's talk about a little bit more about what happens if you don't get enough, and then we'll talk about how much you really need. So we all know that one of the biggest things that happens when you don't get enough protein is you simply lose a lot of strength and a lot of muscle. And this is because, as I just made the distinction of, that protein literally is muscle and muscle is literally protein. When you go to the store and you're buying meat, for example, say you go buy some steaks, you are actually just buying literal protein, muscle from that animal. That's the same thing for you. You got to think about yourself kind of as an animal. It's literal cell biology. So if you're not getting enough protein, you're going to lose that muscle and that strength from your body very, very rapidly. Also, cells and injuries can't heal as well, as we just discussed. Recovery from all types of different stresses, and specifically actual things that happen. So say you get cut, your body needs enough protein to actually go through that metabolism, go through the inflammation process to repair the overall skin and damage that occurred. In addition to this, a lot of people do know this as well, but your hair, skin, and nails are comprised of proteins. I should make this distinction again. Literally every cell, every structure in your body is comprised of protein. It literally builds everything. We discussed amino acids earlier. The amino acids build those peptides, polypeptides, which build the proteins, which literally build everything in our body, which I think is pretty cool. In addition to this, a lot of people don't know this, but protein is very satiating and can actually kind of keep you more full than if you're not eating enough protein. So if you're trying to lose weight and diet, having enough protein is great for that. But on the flip side, if you don't get enough, you're going to be very, very hungry, and it's going to be very difficult for you to stick to that diet, stick to that weight loss. And even if you're trying to just maintain your overall weight, having enough protein is going to really help with that satiety as well. Also, as we just discussed, since protein does help to kind of repair and create all these different cells and structures in our body, your cells from your immune system that help with all the different things that keep you, let's say, sickness free, they fight off those colds, fight off infections, all those different things, those aren't going to be able to be working quite as well if you're not getting enough protein. So you could be getting a lot more sick, which is obviously something none of us want to do. And then in addition to this, and one of the big things that'll lead to weight loss, or no weight loss, I should say, and we'll discuss this a little bit later in the podcast, is that if you're not eating protein, and specifically high quality protein sources, you're likely going to be eating other things, and those other things are usually very high processed, high calorie dense things at the store, such as cookies, crackers, cakes, chips. All these things you will be more likely to consume because that's the only thing left usually in people's households if you're not consuming enough protein. So protein is great for a lot of different things, and if you don't get enough of it, it's going to cause quite a bit of different issues. A lot of those we just laid out, and you'll probably notice them. But this then begs the question of how much protein do you really need? And I do want to say something first off, is that there's really no upper limit for the most part on how much protein is good. Obviously, you want to get enough carbs and fats in your diet so you are feeling good, vibrant, and energized. Fats also help with some of that metabolism and hormonal regulation. But if you're just getting a lot of protein and you're not really thinking about it, there's no really bad part of eating too much protein. And I'll also say too that most individuals are not getting enough protein. So if you're asking yourself like, what's the problem with consuming too much protein? There really isn't. And we'll discuss one population later in the video that might want to kind of monitor their overall protein intake, but there's no real upper limit. With that said, right now about 0.82 grams per pound of your body weight is going to be fairly good for overall health and longevity. Again, with that said, increasing your protein intake beyond that is going to help with a lot of different things, specifically satiety, so weight management. Also too, if you are somebody who's trying to build more muscle, you might need a little bit more as well. Or if you're somebody who's trying to diet and lose weight, you might need a little more protein as well.